your martial arts movie podcast.
I threw that shit before I walked in the room.
Featuring drunken Thai boxer Will.
Too bad you will die.
The also drunken wrestler Mark.
I said I don't want trouble.
And drunken karate master Zero.
You've lost your balls.
And now,
I know Kung Fu. You know, baby.
Fists of Fail.
You ever heard of the term false memories, guys? Well, you know what a false memory is, right? So, like, you have these, you have these associations with a certain memory. You think like you have an idea of like how the memory went, but then when you revisit it,
isn't that just like nostalgia? Like you're
blinded
by nostalgia?
No, what I mean is like I revisited this movie thinking it was the way that it was, like at a specific way of remembering it. And then rewatching, I'm like, oh shit, I just cobbled together like all the scenes from Fearless and Once Upon a Time in China, 1, 2, 3, and 6.
So I think I feel where your opinions might be going, right?
Okay, yeah. So I recommended this movie because I was like, oh fuck, it's Fong Sai Yuk,
The Legend of Fong Sai Yuk.
Yeah, or the movie. The title could just be called The Legend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of Jet Li's more well-known films, the more well-known period piece films. And I chose this one because I was like, okay, well, everyone knows about Once Upon a Time in China. We'll get to that one day. Mm-hmm. But
you had an opportunity for a joke there. Never mind. Sorry.
I think we're all really.
You should have went for it.
We're all really fired up after this this conversation we had earlier.
God, I need coffee.
Yeah. So, Fong Sai Yuk is one of his more well-known films, also based off of a folk hero, also known as Fong Sai Yuk from the Manchu era? Whatever. Anyways, in this story, this also takes place, like during the Qing Dynasty era. So, like, the way that he looks in this movie is exactly the way he looks in Fearless. It's exactly the way he looks in Once Upon a Time in China. Mm-hmm. He plays different characters, but, the way that he looks is, all the same.
Yes.
So my memory of this is very, very skewed. Mm-hmm. And I was like, hey, guys, we're going to watch an awesome Jet Li movie. And I'm rewatching this. I was like, oh, this wasn't what I remembered it to be.
So it's funny that your feelings are kind of coming across this way. Mm-hmm. As I started watching the film, I was like, oh man, okay, I think I see where this is kind of going. And I was kind of forming opinions like, oh, okay, I kind of think, I kind of feel I might think of it in this certain light. Mm-hmm. And as I was watching it, I was just enjoying it more and more and more. And man, this is probably one of the most entertaining movies I've seen in a long time.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I was so happy to watch this.
Okay.
I was kind of worried, with that opening dream sequence, because I was like, oh, it's going to be like this kind of movie. It's going to be kind of silly, wuxia type film, and ultimately it's going to be forgettable. But I don't know. Like, I loved this movie a lot, actually. I was laughing out loud at so many things that were happening, and I generally like the characters.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
This is both of your first viewings, right?
I to go off of your false memory thing, it's I can't remember if I've seen this movie or not.
Well, I remember seeing it, but I think I just muddled it.
It feels like I have, and I remember some like unique parts, but then I can't tell if maybe I just saw the clip somewhere. So I'm just gonna say sure, first viewing, just because I have no fucking idea.
Sure, there are things that muddle it for me because Jet Li stars in it as Fong Sai Yuk, and in Once Upon a Time in China, 1, 2, and 3, and 6, it was Jet Li who played Wong Fei Hung. I'm sure Mark wants to sing the theme song right now. But another element that muddled it for me was that Vincent Zhao, who plays the villain in this movie in Fong Sai Yuk, plays Wong Fei Hung in Once Upon a Time in China 4 and 5.
Right.
So they're playing the same exact character in that series. But then I don't know what it's just because it's just like an associative thing that I just
I can see where that could start blurring lines between the films.
Yeah, it's like a Bernstein Bears effect or like the Mandela effect.
Yeah. So thankfully, I don't really have too much association with Jet Li and Once Upon a Time in China. Like I know I've seen the films, but it was so long ago. So this was fine for me. Like I wasn't thinking of anything else.
Yeah,
I was just so pleasantly dumbfounded by all of the wacky things going on in this movie.
Yeah.
So this movie is supposedly not even supposedly. It's intentionally marketed towards like the more comedic side of things. So it's even like poking fun of Jet Li's other films with the ones that we just talked about, and they take some tropes from it and kind of flip it over its head and try to make it all comedic, but also being unique at the same time. So again, like that might be where my confusion came in. But I was actually afraid when I was rewatching. I'm like, oh, I don't remember this at all. Oh no, I hope you guys don't dislike this recommendation for an episode. But I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I had no idea what this was. I saw the image and I was like, oh, okay, it's going to be one of these like Once Upon a Time in China type films.
Right.
I wasn't really expecting much, but yeah, this was great. I'm very happy you recommended it for me personally.
I genuinely like the plot. Everything else is kind of hit or miss. I don't know why.
Man.
Go.
I was going to say, I loved the mother character in this movie. She stole the show for me. Like Jet Li.
Fong. I think her English name is Josephine Zhao? Oh, probably. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, whereas Jet Li plays it pretty much straight. Like he's kind of. I don't want to say he doesn't have a character, but he doesn't really stand out so much for me. But he's fine for what he does. But I don't know, like something about the mom, like she just came across as so likable. She was very witty and very strong.
She's a badass.
Yeah, she was really cool. I liked her a lot.
You and the film viewers back in '93 thought the same thing because she got awards for this role. Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think not Jackie. Well, Jet Li, Jet did too. But it was a standout role for her, and she isn't. She was part of that whole girls with guns era of movies in the '80s. But she's not an actual martial artist. She is accustomed to doing action films in Hong Kong cinema.
Okay.
So it shows. She has that like on-screen charisma that you're just talking about. The goofy element of this film. I thought this would be like you guys would hate it.
Oh no, I loved it. I was just eating it up.
Yeah, the only part that I disliked mostly was just the quick cuts and the weird pacing of the film. Other than that, I thought the film was pretty good.
Well, this film is like that old school style of like wuxia film where it's sure the some of the fighting is grounded in the real physical world, but other times they do more fantastical flying and jumping and
well, that's fine. That's of the genre.
Yeah.
That's there's nothing wrong with that.
The dramatized traveling martial artist or whatever.
Yeah,
or nomadic.
I wasn't. I knew that like going into it, like we had to be in the right place, like right mindset, because not that we're
drunk.
We sure that always helps.
I get what you mean though. I feel that I tend to not like wuxia films so much because I don't like the wire work. Right. But something about this movie, about how it all came together, it came across as really silly and goofy, but I liked it a lot, and I thought it was really clever and inventive in how they staged some of these fights, even though you're like, yes, they're jumping on top of people's heads. That's so it's so stupid, but it's so interesting how they're shooting it, how they're doing it all, and how they had to shoot so many different angles to make it work. I loved it because of that.
Yeah. That's just like one standout moment. But well, before we get into all there's an innumerable amount of those silly moments in the film. What is the movie actually about? Who wants to take this? Because I don't want to explain it.
Jet Li. He's got a wooden bicycle.
Like a boss.
And that's all he got.
Oh God! All right, I'm glad you paid attention.
No, man, what's the general plot is? Fuck, there's too much. Go.
There really is. There is a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Okay,
there's like 5 subplots.
Well, let's talk about the real
what's the overall
more surface
plot?
ones. Okay, sure. The first A plot is he
Red Lotus.
Well, that's part of the B plot, I guess, right? So the first part would be when he is like unintentionally or intentionally, whatever you want to call it, wooing this girl who turns out to be the daughter of some sort of like figurehead.
Yeah.
And that's the part A of the story, and then the part B of the story like rears its head when it turns out that like Jet Li's father also is working as a rebel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they're trying to rebel against the emperor at the time. And that's it.
That's it.
That's the general premise of the movie.
Right.
And they kind of tie it together.
Yeah, and then like, shenanigans ensue because of him trying to woo this girl and the whole thing that happens with the marriage and how their families begin interacting with each other, the relationships that form between the families. To jump ahead a little bit, but yeah, you could say that's the basic.
So yeah, I'm curious. Did you guys get a lot of the comedy that comes from like the wordplay? Like, I know you guys are reading subtitles.
Yeah, well, I don't think we can. And
no, maybe not wordplay. Like, because I know you got a lot of enjoyment seeing like what's physically on screen,
right?
Like reading in between the lines of what's actually happening.
Well, yeah. Well, I know you found it funny when like anytime there's a reference to Wong Fei Hung, right? What was that reference you were talking about? That like
no, so at one point he just all of a sudden they're walking, and I think this is what you were saying, Zero, when they get out of jail, and then in the middle of a conversation about calling each other different names or whatever, he's like, "My name is Wong Jing" or something, and then he like crouches down in a form.
Oh yeah.
And then all of a sudden the fucking song just plays for like a 3-second clip, and it's George Lamb's "The Once Upon a Time in China" song,
and then
the intro.
There's
theme.
like a record skip or something like that.
Yeah. So there were a couple of references here and there, and it's not soon. It's soon after, so it's like it's kind of neat that they did that because that doesn't happen a lot. I think in kung fu movies in the 90s.
So this is riding the coattails of Once Upon a Time in China 2. I think that came out in 92, and this came out in 93. So everyone knew about those films.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, well, he played Wong Fei Hung, so let's like play that up as much as we can. And we get a couple of those references through the film. So later in the movie, there's a bamboo fight. And if you've seen Once Upon a Time in China 2, there's this very famous scene between Jet Li and Donnie Yen, and they're fighting with bamboos.
That's an awesome fight.
It is great. So this movie's version of that, or like interpretation of that, is like a little more toned down version of it, but it's also trying to be unique in a way.
I would say it does some unique stuff with it. We're kind of jumping ahead. Do you want to?
Do we want order, or do we just want to go like,
Yeah.
Here's what happens first? It doesn't matter to me. There are a lot of goofy parts. I would just like the standout moments are the ones that I want to like talk about. Like the very, very beginning, for example, when Jet Li is challenged to a series of competitions before the first quote unquote fight. He's about to do this hurdle jump, and just.
I mean, it's not even a fight. He's just displaying his
physicality.
His physicality against these kind of ruffians who were overtly hitting on the lead female character. And it's like it always makes me laugh when you see that these martial artists can do these like extraordinary things compared to normal people, but then they never compete in sports.
Yeah.
Well, it's their movie, so of course it is.
Right, oddly specific, Zero. It's almost like...
I like how he runs up to the beginning of the line, he stops because he sees an ant.
Yes.
That's like the most over the top thing.
Well, they're really like hammering you over the head with his character.
Yeah. But my favorite thing is like he grabs that ant, and then he doesn't, because he's already at the end of the line. So he just, instead of doing a running jump, he just jumps from standing and makes it to the other side of the hurdle.
Right. Well, so this is the long jump.
Oh, the long jump. Sorry.
So he clears the long jump pit
in one, like without a running
without
start.
a running start. Yeah.
And then he lets the ant go. I'm like, like you would tense that ant would have been crushed.
Yeah.
In his fingers.
Yeah.
And then they do some stupid relay race.
Man. We were laughing about this before. So Jet Li is way behind when he finally gets the baton in the last leg of the race. Yep. And he runs so fast, his fucking ponytail is constantly stiff, like the wind is blowing it back. Like
the physics make no sense.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what they were trying to imply. Like he's
Yeah.
running so fast, like his hair is sticking out. But the visual of the hair just sticking out because, I don't know, maybe they put like wire in there.
Yeah.
Maybe it was being pulled with fish strings. Whatever. It's so fucking silly.
There's no doubt in my mind that somebody was just holding a rod above the camera where the boom mic was, or it was attached
holding
to
it
the
there,
boom mic
yeah.
and just following it.
That's how he
it.
won. They're dragging him towards the end of the finish line. And then we have our first fight because those perverts, I guess.
The sore losers.
The losers want to challenge him. And it's not really a fight. It's more like just a demonstration of how awesome Jet Li is, I guess. Because he takes a flag. He beats everyone up with a flag.
Yeah. It's a shame that it wasn't any sort of specific flag. Like, it could have been like the Chinese flag. And he'd be like, yeah, I did this for China.
Propaganda much?
Yeah.
And then what happens after that? So we get introduced to our villain, played by Vincent Zhao. Again, the other Wong Fei Hung in the same exact series. This guy's career really never took off too much. So outside of this movie, I don't think I've seen him in anything else.
Yeah, I don't recognize him.
If I did see him in something else, I wouldn't even know. So his introduction is great because he challenges two people, random blacksmiths.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know. What you're saying.
And so I guess the sensibilities in Hong Kong at the time, or Asian markets, was like we don't mind violence, but not gruesome violence. So they weren't okay with some of the scenes that you see here. So when Vincent Zhao snaps a guy's arm, you see the bone protruding past his elbow.
Yeah,
And that's the only time that happens in this movie too.
And it was such a shock factor that it just came out of nowhere. It was so early in the goddamn movie, and it's like everything was calm until that point, and then this happened.
No, it wasn't. We got that crazy ass dream sequence before this.
We didn't even.
Nothing was calm.
That's true. We completely.
Well, in terms of like pure
Mm-hmm.
like violence, where to the extreme violence, like
and,
goriness.
And anytime you see bone, that's pretty extreme. Like,
Yeah.
there was violence before. But
it was just like,
people were getting stabbed.
like simple stuff. Dare I say, But it's when that bone popped out, and
You're like, what the fuck?
In the weirdest way too, because all he was doing was the guy was punching, and he was basically punching him back, but with like a block.
Yeah, with a block, and then it caused the bone to come out.
He was so OP that the bone came out the other end. Like that just made no sense.
Yeah, and then Vincent Zhao is so strong that he can do that, and he can grab a guy and throw him over his shoulder, and then he can instantly turn him into a dummy. And that dummy is immediately flammable. He bursts directly into flame.
Oh man,
and there's no remnants. There's no charred body. It's just gone.
The use of dummies in this movie was it was just perfect. I loved it. In the dream sequence when the guy's riding the horse and he goes to jump into the water, it turns into the dummy horse just flying over the edge. I wanted dummies in every scene practically.
We you got your wish because we do have a lot of dummies.
Oh my god, there are so many dummies in this movie.
Would I dare say that the scaffolding scene is probably is it the best scene? I don't know. Like it's definitely the longest fight scene that we have.
It
Most
is.
elaborate.
It's the longest. It's the most elaborate. For me, it would definitely be the best because it's the most, probably one of the more unique fight scenes I've seen because of the setup.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So what is the setup?
So plot wise, the love interest is the daughter of some rich guy, like you said. And in order to win her hand in marriage, you have to beat his wife in a fight. And they're fighting on this kind of scaffolding, these kind of like thick bamboo type structure that goes up very high. And his wife is just beating up all these men, everybody who tries to come. And then finally Jet Li's character comes in, and now they're fighting on this bamboo scaffolding.
Right. And there's the last piece is that there's like a floral ornament in the middle of and the top of the scaffolding. You have to grab it, then you get their hand in marriage. Yada yada yada. So there's like remnants of like old school traditional Chinese like things that are kind of cool here. And it's like, oh yeah, cool. Like we get to embrace that heritage. But then there's also like the dark side of the Chinese traditions that like, oh, that's not cool. Like domestic abuse. Like when Jet Li's father like beats up his mom.
That's
and
not
him.
part of this fight.
No. Well, okay,
You mean in the movie in
that
general?
happened before, but in this fight, there's that part. Like he's Jet Li shows up for this fight and everything, and like they're having a fight. But towards the end of it, the only reason why he loses is because he realizes that the daughter's ugly.
Well, it's not really the daughter.
But he doesn't know that.
He doesn't know that.
That is the daughter, but well, she's ugly. I guess I'm losing.
Right. It's played for comedy. I love that moment though because he accidentally KOs himself by like taking the mother's foot and just like tapping his chin. It's perfect. It's great.
Right. Well, we're obviously skipping to the end of it, but everything leading up to it, there is a lot of gold.
Oh my God! Yeah,
there is explored here.
This is an extremely complicated fight. So I guess when you think of choreography, you're thinking of like combinations of punches and kicks on the ground, which could, there's a lot of training involved in that. So just to jump ahead a little bit of this in this fight, what ends up happening is the mother. Not Jet Li's mother, but the love interest mother gets thrown into the crowd, and she starts hopping on top of people's shoulders and their heads, and Jet Li does the same. And this basically turns into a fight between two people using the top of people's heads as their floor. Yes. And there's no way to verbally really describe it without saying like you really need to see it.
Well, it's like human totem poles, but not like like a human pyramid in terms of fighting.
Right. Imagine Ong Bak when Tony Jaa propels himself up and he's he's kind of scurrying across the shoulders of the guys. Imagine a whole scene, an entire fight scene dedicated to this.
The greatest part about this is like there is. I mean, like the whole idea was like they were fighting on scaffolding because and the rules were as long as you don't touch the floor, you're still in the game, right?
Yes.
So, mind you, my favorite part of that is like when they're fighting on these like really thin beams, and obviously they're on wires, but it's still really impressive. When like especially when she does like a bunch of like essentially like what looks like high beam gymnastics, from far up there. It looks really great. She does like this forward front flip stuff, and then when they get brought down, like that's what the cool elements of the scene. Yeah. And then when the second half was when she gets kicked, they both get kicked off and they start standing on people's heads. That's when the fight scene turned goofy.
Yeah, it gets bonkers. But I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I didn't think I was gonna like it because I thought, oh no, they're just gonna start jumping on top of each other's heads, and it's going to turn into kind of like wire fu, Crouching Tiger. People are just going to be kind of floating and tapping. But they tried to give it semi-realistic physics in that they really had to struggle to balance on top of people. So there was a constant There was a constant effort really not to fall over. There was a constant effort from Jet Li's supporters and the mother supporters to keep them up off the ground. And it's just a constant escalation of like buffoonery, or not even buffoonery, just like wackiness that just keeps on going up and up.
It's wacky coordination. How about that?
Yes, it's
so like they're obviously incredibly coordinated if they can do all that, except like it's wildly impractical to be fighting on top of the heads of everyone. It's great because like while they're like jumping on top of the heads of the bystanders, these innocent people are just standing there who just happen to be watching this matchup. They just get kicked in the face and everything, and you see these reaction shots of they have them just like writhing in pain, like, and it's great because like
sorry, I just had a mental image of Tom Cruise.
And then there's it's great enough because like they're just fighting like in a more like traditional stance, like. But then once they start doing flips and stuff, like she starts doing like running. She does like a running start, and then she does like 3 front flips in a row. I'm like, that you're basically getting like smashed in the face with these 2 powerful legs, just so she get some sort of flip in. Oh my god! And then we get the Mike Tyson ear bite.
Oh god! So I think why I like this fight a lot is because it just keeps on escalating into how kind of ridiculous it becomes. So
ridiculous
at first, yes, they're kind of standing on the shoulders of people, but then it turns into kind of like a human, like Megazord, like robot type moment where you have 5 people lifting up the mother, and they're kind of walking as one. And you have 2 of Jet Li's friends lifting them up, and they're walking as one, and it becomes like a human-made robot, like robotic formed fight.
Yep.
And I'm just like, what is going on here? It's so silly.
My biggest laugh out loud moment from this scene was the snatch kick.
Oh god.
When she's like, I don't know what she was even doing. She was just flying in the air, and then Jet Li just goes straight for the flying kick
for the groin.
And you see his foot just land directly into her groin and send her flying. I think that's when her henchman grabbed her.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. But I mean, at the end of this, he loses, or he forfeits technically.
Right.
And
well,
then,
he like intentionally loses.
Yeah. He's like, oh, ugly woman. I don't like that. Like literally, I'm literally not exaggerating. And then his mother comes into fray, pretending to be his brother. That's weird.
Yeah.
Saying that out loud sounds really weird.
Yeah.
She comes into fray, and it's a battle of the moms. So they're fighting back on the scaffolding, and Jet Li's mom is winning, played by Xiu Fang, Joseph Xiao, and she wins. But not only does she win, she also wins the affection of the mom because she's also dressed as a man. So,
Jet Li's mom is dressed up as a man,
Yeah.
unbeknownst to the other mom.
Yeah.
Who is... So what happens is Jet Li's mom is like... I think she's trying to really play up that she's a man. So she starts really heavily flirting with her.
Yeah.
And not knowing this, I think it actually wins the other woman over. And there's a lot of... I thought this was really, really interesting how they decided to portray the homosexuality.
It wasn't homosexuality because she thought that she was into a guy, right?
No, but from Jet Li's mom's perspective, because there was a lot of confusion on her part because she was constantly getting the affections from the other woman, and she was not really sure how she was feeling because the father was, not a bad person, but he was kind of hitting her and not always returning the affection she wanted back. So there was constantly a push and pull for her. Like I like that about her character, and I thought they handled that very tastefully. Considering this is 1994 and this is a Chinese film, like they could have, they could have really made fun of the homosexuality of this, and it could have been in poor taste a lot.
Right. Well, I'm glad that they ended this, in a tasteful way. like the resolution was that one of them dies. And
Spoilers.
it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, way to be progressive, and then one of them dies.
Thanks, Will.
Yeah, thanks, Will.
You're welcome. That was sarcasm, right? Yeah, and then the next fight happens at the hideout. So this is where that plot B that we were just talking about before happens, where it turns out that Jet Li's father is part of the rebels with the Red Lotus. And then Vincent Zhao's character comes into fray. And he's like, "Oh well, you guys are rebels, and
I'm gonna
you
unrebel you." I'm pretty sure that's what my subtitle said.
And then we have a battle between, let's see, Jet Li, Josephine Xiao.
I thought you were going to say Will Smith for a second.
Yeah. Versus Vincent Zhao.
Right. It's kind of broken up into two farts.
Two farts. Yeah.
Two farts. Two parts. It's Jet Li and his mom versus Vincent Zhao, and then it turns into like the stick fight at the end.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jet Li's part of that first part of the fight, anyways. But
it's like a kind of a mess of a brawl because everyone's scrambling. The bad guys' guns are no longer usable because Jet Li pours the water on them. So it's like a big scramble. They're trying to get that pregnant woman out of there.
Oh, right.
His mom gets jaundice. I mean, it's
what?
Well, she gets thrown in that tub of yellow ink.
Oh, yeah.
She just looks like she has jaundice for the next 5 minutes.
Turns
It's great.
into a Simpsons character.
Yup.
And then they both leave, and then now it becomes Jet Li versus Vincent Zhao, part 1.
So I want to say before that though, if you were looking for some more grounded choreography, because this is essentially a wuxia film, there's a lot of wire work all over the place. But there are a lot of moments in this fight where it's just Jet Li and Vincent Zhao just straight up hand-to-hand combat, as well as his mom coming in.
Yeah.
And it's pretty good. You could still see how fast Jet Li is, how young he was here. 93?
93, yeah.
Yeah, even the mom does some stuff really well, even though you said she's not exactly a martial artist. Like, she's definitely holding her own. She has a lot.
The squirt. Wow.
Wow.
Whoa. The skirt. Not the squirt. Whoa. The skirt twirl, which is like the most effective fight
Yes.
maneuver. Not all the squirt will be a really effective maneuver too. But anyways, you were saying how effective she was.
Well, there's this great moment where he and Jet Li and his mom, they're both kind of standing side by side, and they both start fighting towards Vincent Zhao's character. And it reminded me of when we were saying how you can't fight, like, two people can't fight one person at the same time because you're just getting in the way. We said this in the Marantau episode.
Yeah.
They do this here where one person is kind of fighting with their right side and the other person is fighting like with their left. So they have that symmetry and they're able to advance towards him. But then it ultimately ends up in comedy where they're throwing so many blows, they abruptly stop, and Vincent Zhao is still just swinging his arms like, "Oh, don't hit me."
Yeah. That's I wasn't expecting the villain to be,
used for comedy.
Yeah, exactly. He seems like such a serious character throughout the whole film. Like Vincent Zhao himself was like not confident with like playing a villain because he never played one before. That's as much as I know.
He was fine.
So Cora Yuen, the director of this film, even like told him is like, okay, the only thing you need to do to play a villain is to not look directly at the other character.
Ooh, I like that.
I never knew that. Like that. Now I'm gonna spot that in every movie.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit, that's right. Like villains don't really look at the main character. They look at them from the corner of your eye. So like it's all a peripheral. It's like you're beneath me. Like I don't need to look directly at you.
I do that all the time with people.
You're the villain in everyone's story.
Yes. Oh no.
So the fight between Vincent Zhao and Jet Li starts from within inside the canopy or whatever, and then it gets taken out to like the docks.
Yeah.
And yeah, like this is where like Jet Li at first like grabs onto a short bamboo stick, and he has the upper hand. Kind of unfair because like his enemy has completely unarmed. Yeah, and then And then Vincent Zhao grabs an even longer bamboo stick. He's like, all right, we're gonna compare sticks. We're gonna go at this. And his is like 3 times. Wow, that sounds really wrong. His stick is 3 times the length of it.
It's longer, but it's a lot more wobblier.
Oh yeah,
it's not as hard. And they make that joke.
They do.
It does come across in the subtitles. I like that they did that.
And yeah, again, this is like a play on the that fight between Donnie Yen and Jet Li. But I was very surprised to see how unique it was in comparison. My favorite technique in this whole thing was when they're exchanging blows and Vincent Zhao grabs onto the end of his stick, and then once he lets go of that one end, it becomes like some sort of like whip effect.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so fucking scary. Because
what do you think that they actually did?
I think they did it. I
think so?
I think they lined it up and made sure Jet Li was in the way. So basically, imagine like a tree branch, and you pull back the tree branch, and you let go, and Jet Li had to stand in a way so that his face was not in the path. And you see it. It's not shot in real slow motion. It's cut frames, but you see it, and it's pretty scary.
Yeah.
That it's so close to his face. I was like, oh my God. And you get it in that wide. Oh,
Right.
Geez.
I mean, that's the thing. The trick of filmmaking is like you can't really tell depth when it comes to those kind of shots, because like Jet Li's behind the whip. Sure, like he might be 1 inch away from it. He might be 3 feet away.
He's
from
definitely a good distance, but still, that's still kind of scary.
Yeah,
see.
for sure.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's like. Well, it's probably not real red bamboo. It might be some sort of like prop.
Yeah, I'm sure they built something special to just, pull back and then let go for that specific shot, because there's no way you want to let your actor get hit with that.
Yeah. You know what's the most impressive part about all these fights?
What's that?
Well, you look like you about to say something, Mark.
No.
No?
No.
You're about to laugh at me for mentioning this. Well, there's two points to this. One is that they actually shot at nighttime. I know that sounds really weird, but a lot of movies at the time were like they would do day for night, and I'm not like.
Oh, you mean blue filter?
Yeah, because I basically apply blue filter to everything, and it looks like nighttime.
Yeah, I hate day for night.
Yeah, but I mean older technology or like older movies, like they'll cheat that by
new movies do that now.
Yeah,
I hate it. Yeah, it's annoying.
If you can't make it convincing, you completely just wasted your
Right.
production budget. So it was all done in actual nighttime. Like most of the shots that were filmed at night were at night, but that adds to my second point, which is this is in Beijing during wintertime. So they were actually fighting, like during filming, like all those scenes that you see of them fighting, like doing anything outside, it looks like it's warm, but it isn't.
Oh yeah, I was saying to you,
Yeah.
like, man, like a lot of shots, even some of the indoor shots earlier, you just see the breath. I'm like, oh my God, it must be fucking freezing there. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and this scene in particular, because there's one part where Jet Li gets wet. It's probably after that all that squirting that happened before. But no, he gets wet from like a splash of water, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, man, he better have toweled off, man, because that's I'm sure like Beijing in the wintertime it's not warm at all. But yeah, like just adding to like this scene in particular, because it's nighttime, is like the winter. It's impressive that they were able to move as quickly as they could. It's like as showing their agility and such. What else to add about this scene?
So just to add a little bit, I liked that the bad guy, Vincent Zhao, he had the longer, kind of more flexible stick. Because you can see, and unfortunately they didn't shoot in real slow motion, so you have to get the cut frames. But you can see what they were trying to show with the stick kind of wrapping around, and that's how he was able to kind of get the upper hand on Jet Li, because even though his shorter stick was stronger, Vincent Zhao's stick was, it was more agile. It could bend, and it could really get through to him.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of like close calls, there's that moment where Vincent's stick. It's so really weird just saying these things. His bamboo like breaks through Jet Li's stick, and like you just see how close it was, just like nicking him in the face.
Yeah.
Like it was like a direct like thrust into man. Vincent thrust his stick into Jet Li's face. Only in our podcast can I say things like that. It doesn't come off as pornographic.
You sure about that?
We don't have an actual fight, like a full-fledged fight, until a couple,
much later. Yeah.
Yeah, a little later into the movie, and I mean, like the plot ensues. We discover that like the whole mistaken identity thing revolving his love interests and the Vincent Zhao crashing the party and such. Like that's like I don't even.
It's like a no. There's no fighting. It's a small action scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but oh man, I loved that dinner party scene when they're trying to hide their faces from Vincent Zhao because they just fought him in the hideout, and now he's invited to the I guess the marriage dinner, and I don't know why, but Jet Li's mom, like the faces she makes to contort her lips and her like eyes, I was like, I burst out laughing when it happened. I'm not usually a fan of this type of comedy. I find
mugging.
Yeah, I find it really, kind of childish. But for some reason, the way she was able to get her face to contort like that, like I was sold. It was golden for me. And then her holding up the meat in front of Jet Li's face to hide it, and he's like more to the left. I don't know, like I something about this movie just like speaks right to me.
And that point, you just got hungry. But and then she does this one thing where she passes her hand across her face as she's about to like pick something up or like switch positions, and she goes from one face to another, and it's that swipe of the hand.
Mm-hmm. That's why she's an actress. That's where all her training came in.
How do you do that?
My favorite part of this whole scene was when they get discovered, and in order to combat all the people shooting guns, Jet Li throws a bunch of chopsticks at them. And hey, if you learn anything from Way of the Dragon,
I was gonna say, do you think this is inspired by Way of the Dragon?
It's even better because Jet Li throws a lot of chopsticks.
They one up him. They one up Bruce Lee.
It's funny because it wasn't like because Bruce Lee threw it at the floor to like stop them from grabbing the guns. Oh God! I was like, what's wrong with my mic? So like Bruce Lee threw it at the floor so like they wouldn't be able to pick up the gun.
Yeah.
But Jet Li threw the chopsticks at the guards, and it was enough force and power to kill all of them. I'm like, how sharp are those fucking chopsticks?
Oh, they were sharp.
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for listening to the podcast. We're at the point where we give our recommendations, but there's a whole wealth of audio you would be listening to here if you follow us on Patreon. There you can listen to the entire episode, including an exclusive action breakdown of the fights in the movie. And now on to our final thoughts. And so they're on the lam now. They're running away. Someone dies, like we mentioned before. And there is a scene where Jet Li discovers that one of his friends, his comrades, has been killed. So he's going to retrieve his corpse. Mm-hmm. The whole idea is that like you can't leave someone's cadaver to just be hung up like that. The way that he is hung up. They indicate that like it's like an old Chinese thing. It's like a proper burial.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of customary throughout the world. Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
To show respect for the dead. You gotta bury him.
Yeah. And this is the most. Is gritty the right word? No, the most somber fight out of the whole movie.
It's one of the more not realistic.
No, still nothing to do with realistic.
It's the most serious fight, actually. Mm-hmm. There is nothing really funny going on here, besides the fact that Jet Li is carrying a dummy in certain shots. This is meant to be played very straight because he's trying to retrieve the body of his fallen friend. And I like this fight a lot. Actually, there's about some really cool choreography going on. My problem is the fact that they didn't shoot a lot of it in real slow motion, so you get those kind of choppy frames.
Yeah,
it sucks because it looks good. I wish they just they didn't do the cut frames and they just showed it all in real time because so basically Jet Li has come with a rope.
Yeah.
And he is just basically wailing on these guys. It's a 1 versus many fight, but he has the rope. He's swinging it around. He's just like, kind of whipping people in the face. And then at one point, what he does is he slams the rope down over like an open flame, which then magically attaches a burning log to the rope. And then he starts swinging that around. And it's great because you're never going to see that in a modern day movie now because that is just so dangerous for all the actors. It's going to be CGI.
Yeah.
But because this is a Chinese film in 1993, they really were swinging around a flaming piece of log. So it's very visually incredible.
Yeah, Jet Li dropped that log.
Oh no.
That flaming log. Yeah, no, that's cool. Like you took the words right out of my mouth. I was gonna say, right out of my log. Yeah, you took that log out of my mouth.
All right.
I have nothing else to add to that. Like, yeah, you said everything I was gonna say. Like that scene was great because it's so amazing that he's actually working with real fire in that scene and he's like swinging that thing around. That log.
Because the scene is so serious, it almost feels like it shouldn't be in the movie.
Yeah.
Because everything else is, pretty lighthearted, even though there are serious moments. Like, this is definitely the most serious one. But I couldn't help but laugh because what happens is he takes down the body of his friend and he's carrying it on his back while he's fighting these guys. And every now and then, certain cuts, it can't be the real actor on his back. Yeah. So it's got to be a dummy. and you see him lugging around this lifeless dummy in certain shots. Oh boy, it's funny.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. Yeah, I didn't really hone in on that until I rewatched it for the fight scenes. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. That wouldn't make any sense for him to carry the actual actor on his back. That wouldn't be smart. He's wielding fire in his hands. So yeah, this is the only serious fight scene in the movie. Like even the final fight scene is not like that, which well, we're getting to that now. Where so Jet Li is now driven to confront the villain at the end because he has to go save his father who is being held captive and
under a guillotine.
Yeah, which did not exist in China at that time. So
it didn't?
No, it did not.
Oh.
Well, no, it is.
Nope.
No, it is for sure.
Nope.
It is for sure. But
let's just say no.
We're a history podcast now. No, because like the typical way of executing someone back then to behead someone is just here's a giant broadsword.
Yeah.
But it's for the movie's sake. Like they want to add like this ticking
suspense
clock.
Well, I'm pretty sure the guillotine wasn't invented until insert date here. And then this
should have been like insert date here.
And then this movie took place during insert time period here.
I don't know what you're talking about. This movie took place fucking 93. There were guillotines there, right?
Oh my god, your argument just trumped all of ours. Right, but anyways, it doesn't matter. It adds to the whole pressure of Jet Li trying to get to his father in time. But before that, we have just to set the stage. As his father's about to get executed, Jet Li comes into the scene on horseback. I'm pretty sure that wasn't him actually on the horse for the most part.
There's a bunch of moments where you can clearly see it's him.
Oh yeah, the moment where he's lying on his back on top of the horse and he's just swinging his arms wildly.
He's doing the backstroke, double wielding swords as the horse is just flying through these bad guys. Mind you, there's people in the crowd. He could have been cutting up bystanders.
They're just like swinging wildly. Like, how does he know who's if he's even hitting anything?
And then at times he's not even swinging; he's just holding the sword out, and guys are just lining up. Oh, is it my turn to get beheaded? Oh.
Yeah, and my favorite parts are like, well, yeah, sure, there are moments where it's not really Jet Li on a real horse because obviously it's a dangerous stunt. But there are also moments where the camera's up close and it's really Jet Li on a not real horse. Those are my favorite.
And he's like, pretending to gallop. Yeah.
Those are my favorite.
Yeah. Man, like it's funny. Like I love these kind of cinema tricks. Yes, like it can look silly, but it still looks better than CGI sometimes. Like I don't know why. I just put a guy on a fake horse.
Yeah. Thanos should have just been he shouldn't have been CGI. He should have been made out of
paper mache
or whatever prosthetic.
Yes,
they use in
Josh
movie.
Brolin and a whole bunch of paper mache and
It's just a sock puppet
and stilts.
But man, I can't believe they took out that horse that way.
Oh, how did they take out the horse again?
Vincent Zhao takes out his gun and shoots.
Oh, he shoots the
at him,
horse
and
and
horse
it face plants.
Yeah.
Oh my god! But you know what though? I want to say that the horse was probably trained to do that.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say he deserved it.
Yeah, no, that horse owes me money. I was watching this video where they train horses to do falls like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like because they do that for movies all the time. Like whenever they get stabbed and the the rider falls off, so they're specifically trained to do those rolls and those face plants and whatnot.
Man, even
But this is '93, and this is China. They might have shot a horse. Yeah, so maybe those were real horses falling to their face planting to their demise.
Yeah, they're like, oh, that horse actually died. All right, but we didn't get a good shot. Let's do it again.
Do it again, yeah.
Yeah, and then, but I like how like quickly Jet Li. There's like never any recoil when it comes to like getting hurt in this movie because as soon as Jet Li is seen falling over off of the horse, he immediately jumps into the air and fires like 15 arrows.
Oh my
all
god,
at once.
his 15-shot bow and arrow is
Where did
awesome.
that come from?
Doesn't matter.
Like you didn't have that bow and arrow before.
So he jumped into the air. He pressed start. He went into his inventory, and then he unpaused, and then he had it.
He just had it underneath his back. He didn't even have a backpack.
He did it. Yeah, it just came with him. Yeah.
Yeah. I have no idea where that came from. He just shot like all these arrows, and I love the old school trickery of like shooting arrows on screen. It's just a bunch of wires. They're all attached wires. You just lift it up, and then it just goes from one end to the other.
Right. And in this movie, if you're looking, you can definitely see a lot of wires holding things up.
Oh man,
it's fine. It's fine.
The fight goes on. Jet Li gets to the top of the platform. He confronts Vincent Zhao, and now
I just wanted to say this fight actually goes against all other fight logic we've kind of been talking about.
What do you mean?
With before you fight the final boss, you got to fight the baddies.
And
he actually doesn't do that here because he takes them all out with the bow and arrow.
Yeah, well, there are more henchmen, but they're just there to watch what's going to happen between the main baddie versus.
They're
Jet
crowd
Li.
control.
Yeah,
that's true.
actually perfectly said. Yeah, that's exactly what they're
where we
doing.
put it. But they're basically just to enforce the rules that the villain set, which is you give me the book or your father gets his head sliced off. But wait, why are you laughing?
National treasure.
Sorry. What?
Never mind.
You and your inside jokes. Yeah, and the villain also once Jet Li says no this is for the greater good of China. I was like, okay, whatever. And then so Vincent Zhao takes this torch and lights the rope on fire so that the rope that's holding the guillotine up, so that there adds a ticking time element to this whole thing.
Right.
And this turns into a fight underneath the platform because they crash through the bottom of the planks, and now they're fighting while they're completely crouched down.
So just to jump in before we go any further.
Yeah.
So what happens is they are fighting above the platforms, and you're kind of fighting against this fake brick.
Right, I'm sorry,
brick
I totally
wall.
forgot about that. Yeah.
But what happens is, Vincent Zhao starts to realize he's losing, and in this weird moment, he takes out like a metal lion's head, and he kind of plucks it on his toes, and it automatically like levels up his XP to like 10 times, and so now he's like, almost equal with Jet Li.
Yeah, it's essentially a steel toe.
Yeah.
He's just attached to his regular shoe.
Yeah.
But like, how does that stay on? Like, I don't understand this.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Like, you kick hard enough, that thing's just gonna fly off.
Or it's gonna hurt your own toe.
Oh yeah. Well, exactly. It's just gonna hurt your own toe. Like, shoes back then were not made to last.
Mm-hmm.
They got a lesson from Patrick Swayze.
Roadhouse. But like, also you're not supposed to kick like that.
With the toes, yeah.
You don't kick with the toes. You're gonna break your fucking toes.
Exactly. Yep.
You should have like worn greaves or something like that. Like, whatever.
Whatever. Yeah. It powers him up.
Sure.
Yeah, that's basically what happens, and it causes him to be able to kick through the floorboards and then send both of them underneath this platform.
Yeah.
And now they are very awkwardly kind of crouching, kneeling in the last kind
Would
of fight
you say
scene.
they're crouching tiger, hidden dragon? No.
I mean, you could.
I will say that, just as a piece of trivia, a lot of the scenes in the movie you can actually see from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Oh, this the same sets were used.
Oh, that's right. Yes, this is a
that
set.
that scene where he went to go save his friend. That's a scene where Zhang Ziyi and Michelle Yeoh fought.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
When they're like climbing against the walls and such. Like several scenes.
This is a film set, right?
I think this is an actual location.
Oh, okay.
That they filmed in. Yeah. Like Beijing's been more and more open about that stuff, as time went on. But anyways, I took your joke and I fucking threw some knowledge at you.
Oh,
knowledge.
shit.
That was not my intention.
So yeah, they're fighting underneath the boardwalk. No, not boardwalk. What is it even?
Yeah, the platform.
The platforms, yeah. And they're like completely hunched over. Mind you, their backs are probably hurting like
God,
a motherfucker. Yeah. And we get some of my favorite fight moves in the entire movie here, because we see Jet Li doing that spinning drill kick, like Cammy from Street Fighter. It's completely impractical. He turns himself into like a pinwheel. Like when you spin a pinwheel and then just let go of the stick and just like
Well,
spins
he's
down.
literally flying across the horizon and spinning with his legs forward. And then we also get another video game reference. I'm sure they weren't intentionally doing this, but he starts doing the Liu Kang like bicycle kick to the side, but a little more towards to the side than facing forward.
Yep.
And it's just. Yes, there's no way you could physically lift yourself up, especially without any sort of momentum to push him, like because they're slouched over. Impossible.
I don't even understand it, because when Jet Li he realizes he needs to get out of there to go save his dad, he peeks his head up and he notices all the henchmen are like keeping him down. So what does he do? He kicks the pillars from underneath the platform and destroys the platforms that the henchmen are standing on. Mm-hmm. How does he have that much power in his legs?
He runs.
Yeah,
That's true.
Did you see him run that relay race?
Oh,
yeah,
that's
the
right.
guy doesn't skip leg
That
day.
is very true.
He also rides a bike. I mean, a fucking bike.
Yeah, I can't stress enough how extremely exaggerated the fighting is underneath the platform. I think you just have to watch it, because I feel like I can't point all of them
A
out.
lot of this film, like it's so hard to verbalize how just kind of silly and over exaggerated the things are, and I loved it. Yeah, I just getting ahead, I really recommend watching this.
So the finishing blow isn't by Jet Li, and I don't really want to elaborate any more about what actually happens after Jet Li gets out of there. He tries to go save his dad, but the rest would be kind of like more spoilers on top of spoilers. So what I will say is that a random figure appears, and
Yeah, I didn't know who this guy was. You had to fill it in, and I don't even think it matters if it's spoiled who it is, because I didn't even know who he was. Nobody knows who he is.
Adam Chang, he's a famous TVB/Canto pop star. Yeah. Anyways, he played another famous folk hero alongside with Fong Sai Yuk, on television, and throughout history. So a lot of Chinese audiences might know who he is.
Oh, okay.
But I don't want that in my fucking movie. Like, imagine you're watching like a... Oh, this is a really bad analogy. You imagine you're watching Iron Man and all of a sudden fucking like Spider-Man shows up and beats the villain at the end. It's like, I know who Spider-Man is, but I don't want this. I don't want that.
Right. That's what it felt like. It felt like a glorified cameo. Like they're playing to people who recognize certain types of characters.
Yeah.
And they're not even in the same universe.
Right. Well,
Which is the worst part.
Well, you said that this guy appeared in the dream.
He was in the dream.
So it's
in the
not
very,
like
very
he came
beginning.
out of nowhere. But for me, because that dream sequence is so brief, he did come out of nowhere for me.
Yeah. It literally is like sandwiching the movie. Like he's in the very beginning, and then he's at the very end.
I mean, it didn't feel like he defeated the villain. It felt like he was offering like assistance, almost.
No, I felt like he actually
Really?
because he's the one who stabbed him.
Yeah, but then it was ultimately Jet Li and the mom.
Jet Li and the mom who threw it took the dynamite and speared him in the face, and then his whole body exploded.
I like how you were trying to avoid saying what happened, and you literally just said,
Come on, it's the funniest fucking thing
Yeah, it's
in
great.
the world.
and it doesn't matter if we spoil that because you got to see the visual.
Yeah, it's great.
Good,
Yeah.
But it's okay. Only a dummy died.
yeah.
He has such power that he can turn himself into the dummy. And then the movie ends,
And that's it.
and then that immediately leads to Fong Sai Yuk 2, which you should definitely watch.
I didn't know there was a sequel.
Okay.
I listened to some of the commentary, and I was like, and he kept on talking about the sequel. I was like,
Logan, yeah.
oh man, I want to watch the sequel. I'm afraid it's not gonna live up to this movie, though.
I saw that one too. That one I remember a little bit more. It has just as much action, but a little bit more polygamy.
Okay, is
that's all I'm gonna leave it as.
the mom back?
The mom is back, yes.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll watch it because I loved that actress's performance as the mom. She, as I mentioned earlier, she stole the show from me.
Wait a minute. Jet Li does marry the mistress's fucking servant, doesn't he?
He might as well have. I don't fucking remember this movie at all. So I'm guessing this is a recommend from 0.
Oh yeah,
right?
this is a very, very high recommend from me. This is, man, it's early 2020. This is like the most enjoyable film I've watched so far this year.
Oh my God,
I can easily, hands down, say that. As I was watching this movie, I was just, hysterically laughing at a lot of things in my bed as I was reeling from a hangover.
You recovered from it just from watching this movie.
Yes, it brought me back to life.
All right. So that's your general recommendation.
Oh, yeah,
Anything
yeah.
else you want to add to that?
No, just it's. I love how silly it is and how inventive it is with some of the fight scenes. I thought the characters were really interesting, and especially the mother, who's actually, there's a lot of layers to her in terms of her romantic interests and where she sided. And it was weird seeing Jet Li as a son. I've only seen him as like the master, so he's always had a child or an underling. So it was interesting to see him play under a mother and father. But this is a highly recommend for me, and I'm really glad you picked this one
Hooray.
because I would have never known to watch this.
Yeah. Cool. Mark, what do you think?
Pleasantly recommend. And just
You sound surprised.
I am. I don't know. I thought like in the beginning I was like, oh, this is gonna suck, and then just slowly started getting better, and then before you know it, like, yeah, I'm into this. Like all of a sudden, the plot's interesting, even though the plot is all over the place.
It is a little over the place. Yes, I'll give you that.
Like, if you're purely doing it for action, like it's fantastic. There's screw ups there. Plot, surprisingly fun. There's screw ups there too because there's a lot of subplots and a lot of things going on. Some subplots shouldn't even be there, but okay, just winging it, going for it. It's fine. Overall, it just kind of stitched together this fun little, I won't say masterpiece, but it's definitely a good view.
It's the dummies, isn't it?
It's
the
the
dummies
dummies.
are really sold you on.
And the dying horses, yeah.
Oh Jesus! I like this movie.
Recommend. Yes.
It's still not high on my list when it comes to Jet Li films. I don't know if that's fair for me to say because like Jet Li's had so many fucking movies,
Right,
And
right.
he's had a lot of good movies.
He doesn't stand out in this movie for me.
Oh no, definitely not. Definitely not. It's not really. It's not anyone's particular show.
Jet Li is not the star of this movie.
Oh, he is.
I mean, he's supposed to be.
But that's not like the star of the movie is like the silliness,
Yeah.
like how wacky this film is, like the unintentional and intentional comedy that comes from it. There are a lot of cultural jokes that I didn't get into in this episode that, but I mean, you even got one of them, which is like, that's just a testament to like how many like in jokes there are that you would only get if you're Chinese. That even like some of them even went over my head. I'm like, I don't get it. They're clearly setting up silence after saying that thing for me to laugh, but I have no idea what they just said. So there are some cultural things that like make this movie unique that we wouldn't understand. But overall, I think this movie is good, and it's surprising that you guys liked it. It's kind of it was like a wild gamble because I thought it was a certain way. And then once we were watching, I'm like, oh no, this is not what I thought it was at all. But that's my memory playing tricks with me. But this time, I was fortunate because it turned out to be a good episode, a good movie. Watch the movie, watch the fight scenes. I'd actually probably say watch a movie without the fights. Like watch the movie, don't just watch the fight scenes.
Yeah, I'm in that boat too.
Yeah.
The plot and the characters help elevate the fight scenes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep, and that's The Legend of Chun-Li.
No. we oh god, we haven't watched that yet. Ooh. Oh wait, I've watched it. You guys
I've
haven't.
seen it.
Oh, you've seen it?
I've seen it. And you know like what your brain does when you like experience something traumatic? You just kind of block it out.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say you become like aroused by it.
Where's the drum kit?
What?
Like you have a traumatizing experience with your parents getting killed as a child, so you get attracted to that violence and you don a mask, and then you want to put that violence on other people, like Batman. Like he's horny for violence, right?
Oh yeah, that's you totally understand Batman.
Isn't that's what it's about, right?
He loves sucker punching grandmas in the face.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said something else. He loves sucking.
He loves sucking grandmas in the face.